Hello, this is Steve from the workshop, and today I'm working on water softeners. And my problem is the pressure's dropped. Like if you open a couple different faucets, then the pressure drops across the whole household. Now, the water tank there shows good PSI coming into it, so I'm pretty sure there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I replaced that water tank about a month ago because the bladder broke. But pretty sure I got some media that's kind of saturated with stuff, and that's why it's not working. And one of the indicators is I put the tanks in bypass mode. See here, I moved the lever over, it's pointing to bypass. And that bypasses the softener, and on the right side I have a neutralizer. And also there's a filter here. But anyway, in bypass mode, the pressure actually increased. So that's an indicator that the problem is in one of these tanks. And frankly, these have been in service like 20 years. So it's probably time to do a service on them just to make sure that the media is good. Now the media itself, let me show you, I'll turn on the light. You can see down here, let me see here, see there's a level there. So I made a mark. So I think there's probably gravel on my neutralizer at the bottom. And then the rest is filled up with this stuff that absorbs acidity, and that can be different things. And then on this tank over here, you can clearly see there it is. That's the resin that the softener of the salt recharges. So I marked the level there, so when I replace the resin, and I believe it's gravel in the bottom of the neutralizer, when I fill that back up, they'll be filled back to their proper level. So I put it in bypass. The pressure did increase a little bit, so that's an indicator that I got a restriction in one of the tanks. I figured as long as I'm at it, I might as well do both of them. I ordered gravel and also resin for the softener. I know I need the resin. I'm assuming we need gravel. We'll see what comes out of the thing when we open it up. Also, this tank, the neutralizer, in bypass mode, has a fill port over here for the stuff that absorbs the acidity that I normally charge it with. And you see I already siphoned off the majority of the water, which will make the tank a lot lighter coming out of the house. This one over here, I'm going to have to unscrew the head once I get it apart, and then siphon off the water out of the tank the best I can. To take it apart, they're a little different from the different ones, but this one has a screw on either side here. I'll take that apart, and then the O-rings will, there's two tubes, an inward and an outward one. Anyways, I'll just pull that apart, hopefully. And then we'll take the tank out, unscrew the top, and then pour the stuff that's in the tank out of the tank to see what's going on, clean it out real good, and put it back together. That's my plan. We'll see how it goes here. But again, I'm not a plumber or nothing. I'm just a homeowner trying to figure this stuff out and save a buck or two. And frankly, if someone were to come in here, they'd probably want to replace the whole thing and start over again, which I'm saying is the wrong idea. That's an expensive idea. I'm going to try the cheap version first and see how this works out. So anyways, yeah. The next thing I'm going to do is unplug the control heads to make sure there's no electricity going to them so I don't electrocute myself. That's easy. It's just plugged in up there. And then there's a drain hose on both of them. I'll take this drain hose, unhook it, then undo the fill port here, and then I'll service the tank. All right, we'll see how this goes. So far, so good. Yeah, I took the little clips off, and then this is pulled right apart. And you can see I have some blockage there. And frankly, these lines here I'm going to have to work on later. Because you can see like this one up here is leaking a little bit. Another one over here started leaking. So all these PEX 90-degree fittings, I'm not sure why they're leaking, but they may have used the wrong connector or something. I need to go through and refit this system. But that will be for another job and another day, not today. Today I'm going to work on the cylinders. But this one you can see from the water coming in, there's some clogged right from that line there. And I suspect maybe the line going down the pump. The one on the left, though red, it's relatively clear. It's open anyways. It's not going to restrict the flow. So I'll clean that out before I reassemble it and grease those seals up before I put it back together. Hopefully it won't leak. Anyways, we'll keep going here. Okay, well, I took like 5, maybe 6, 7 gallons off the top of this thing. Now I just laid it over and I'm draining the rest out. Now I'm not going to dump it in there because I don't want gravel and stuff going into my sump. But water weighs like 9 pounds per gallon or something like that. So I definitely want to get this thing lighter because it's pretty heavy just with all the water in it. So by laying it over on its side, I think probably most of the sediment or whatever is in there is still at the bottom. And then I'm siphoning the water off right now through that clear tube there. You see it running down there. I need something up. Yeah. So this will, oh, you see it's kind of nasty looking too. There you go. So get rid of that water, reduce the weight. I think I only had like half empty for water, so it was really heavy. Man, that thing weighs a ton. If I had 2 people I could have done it, but just myself. And I got it strapped to this hand truck. Hopefully help pull it up out of the stairs. And then I'll take it apart outside. Because I don't want to make a mess in my basement. Could service it down here, but I need a hose to rinse it out and stuff. So I want to do that outside. But to get outside, I got to get the weight off. So you can see we get rid of the majority of this water anyways. Well, got it outside, got the tank apart. Didn't have a third hand for taking videos as I was doing this, but basically the control head is up over here. And you can see there, that just unscrews on the bottom onto the top of the tank, which is there. And then there's this tube that attaches to the control head, or what do they call that thing? And there's a filter there at the top, and there's also a filter here at the bottom of that tube, and that was just, you can see all the gunk that came out of the tank so far, and that was just clogged full. So I think that's certainly a source of my pressure problem. Was with this thing's all packed full of rust and everything. But I believe that the water, I don't know if it feeds out of the bottom or if it pushes the water down. Probably pulls it out the middle, I would assume. Otherwise the inside would be all like rust and everything. But it was like clogged up big time. And so anyways, I'm going to clean this up best I can. And I think a wire brush would probably be too harsh on that filter, but I do need to get that rust off the filter so the water flows better. Let me show you what I mean. You can see the water that comes down and it kind of pushes the water out. It may actually flow the other way, but you can see there's kind of limited. It looks like a shower head that only has some of the nozzles that are working, kind of like that. I'm going to see what I can do to clean that thing up so it passes the water a little easier. I think it should be a little bit more flow than that. When I first started, there was just a couple of squirts coming out of it. You see it was really kind of backed up. That's already getting a little bit better. I decided to just take this thing apart. There's only 4 screws that was holding it together. So I just pulled those apart. And you can see that there's like these plates. In between it, there's like gravel and stuff in there. So I'm just going to wipe that off and put them back together. And hopefully it'll work better. Okay, yeah, after taking these plates apart, this side has little raised nubbies there, and the bushing, if you will, that the screw goes through is a little higher. The other side's perfectly flat. So this is the top side. It goes up, and there should be squirting out all around this in like layers, you know. So you saw I was squirting out before. So I'm going to clean these up and You see over here, all the gunk that was in there. That's why I was squirting out so limited. So we'll clean these things up. Not gonna be perfect, but at least get all the gunk out of there. And then try to squirt it through, see how it does. I think it'll be much improved. All right, so I got it cleaned out. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there's little gaps between the plates where the water's supposed to flow freely. So I believe now it can. Before it was all clogged up with stuff. You know, is it perfect? Nah, but hey, it's not clogged up anymore. So hopefully that will help. All right, let's see what the difference is now. Try doing this without spraying my phone down. Huh. Look at that, it's not even squirting, it just comes out freely. That's what happens with the plates are clear. Boy, that was restricting my flow a lot. Well, that's one thing that'll help. All right, I got the thing all cleaned out. I don't know if you'll be able to see very well, but it's... Hello, anybody in there? It's all cleaned out. And the tube there, we'll run that down to the bottom. Then we got to put the gravel in. Then I'll put the control head, screw that on top, run it down on top of the pipe, and then it screws into the top there. And then this one has access to put the neutralizer in on the side. We'll put that in at the end. I was thinking about running the gravel through there, but that's a little smaller hole than the one at the top. So we'll do that down in the basement, fill it back up with stuff. We'll see you there. Okay, so I got the tank all cleaned out, got the tube back in the tank, and I covered up with tape so I don't get gravel down the tube. You want to make sure it's seated all the way in the bottom. You know, and in this case, I know it's seated because it was clunked in there, then I can see it's level. So I use that as a gauge. And as you're filling it, make sure you don't pull up on the tube at all or it won't be seated anymore. And I got this funnel thingy to help the stuff go in. There's my media I'll put in there. And if you remember, we made a mark on the tank down there. And hopefully it's close to that level. I don't think it has to be exact, but I'm not an expert here. I'm just kind of guessing. Anyways, we'll see how this goes. Okay, got the gravel in it. I got it almost up to the line. I checked it with the light. And I think the rest of it had to do with the rust that was in it. I took the tape off the top of the tube, and I'll put the control head down on top of the tube and screw it in. Also, I've got some waterproof grease on that gasket to help it seal and slide together better. And hopefully it won't leak. So now we got these gaskets or the seals all cleaned up really well. Put a little waterproof grease there and also in the holes. So hopefully it goes together without a big problem. And then we got to put the clamps on to make sure it goes in all the way. And it stays there. Just go ahead and open up the service and kind of slow. This one here, I have the cap open a little bit over here so it leads the air off. As it's doing that, kind of keep track how the water's up. Yeah. Go ahead and put some of the neutralizer in it. And fill that. You don't want to fill it all the way up. You want to leave like a foot or so down. So you're putting the neutralizer in, make sure it doesn't go higher than about here. It gives it room to kind of percolate inside. So I'll show you how to take this one apart. Same as the other one. Basically I bear hugged it. I put my arm around this way, grabbed onto the head, just turned it, and it just unscrews. And inside there we'll have that drop pipe again. That's about all there is to it. It was on there tight though. I mean, I grabbed onto it like my hand onto this over here and then pulled as hard as I could without keeping the canister from spinning. But anyways, that's about all there is to it. Well, yeah, the resin seems to come out of the tube out of the tank pretty easily, or somewhat easily compared to the gravel anyways. So that's coming out, but I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be that color. I mean, according to Google, resin's good for 10 to 15 years. This is a 20-year-old softening system, so that's good. And also the drop tube, I just rinsed it out. It's not clogged up at all, so that's good. So I think my drop in pressure was mainly coming from the neutralizer tank. So I put gravel in that and cleaned out the pickup that we saw earlier. And this one here seems pretty clear. It's just that the resin, I think, is a little over serviced. So hopefully my water will be a little softer now. So I'm just going to dump this out and then rinse it out real well, and then throw the resin stuff in the trash. I don't want to put that out in the woods or anything. I'm not sure what it's made of, but I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be eaten by my chickens or anything. Anyways, okay. So apparently at the bottom there's some stone in there, and so what I did is I kind of scraped it up and put it in the bucket, and then like rinsed it out, kind of like a gold miner does, and separated the stone from the resin. So I'll reuse the stone, and I'll put this in the tank, and then I'll come back up and get most of the rest of it. I don't think it's a big deal as long as it is around the tube at the bottom. That's the main thing. So I'm going to fill it in the basement so I don't jostle it around going up and down stairs or anything. Alrighty. Alright, so I just got this thing filled up, and interesting enough, you don't see it, but where's our line? There's our line. And the amount that I bought came right up to the same line. So that's probably pretty good news. Anyways, I don't even know what the name of the website is, but I just typed in how much resin for a water softener, and depending on the size of the tank, it told you how much to buy. And that's what I bought, and it was just right. So can't beat that with a stick. The only thing that was a surprise with this one is the rocks in the bottom. So if I had to do it again, I'd probably buy some rocks beforehand, so I didn't have to separate those. And again, putting this together, I'm going to use grease on the seals, and probably should have some new seals, but I don't have them, so I'm just going to grease them up really good. And the other one's not leaking, so hopefully this one will not leak either. Putting the head on here. One thing that just happened, I had to be kind of real, is it didn't go on the tube very well. So one thing you don't want to do is pull up on it, because if you pull up at all, it's going to dislodge the tube at the bottom, then it's not going to go together right. So I just worked it down, and then it popped right in. I'm not sure, it was going on, sliding onto the tube was the problem. It was a little bit of a hang up. But I didn't pull up on it, you know. I kept the pressure down a little bit, just worked it back and forth until it seated itself. And now we'll just tighten it up a little bit, best we can. So I got the water softener filling now, and I got the service thing partially between bypass and service. So if you see the water's kind of coming up slow. And I opened up a spigot upstairs on cold water, so the air has a place to kind of run out. So I'm just using water here while it's slowly filling up. And I don't know, I put the neutralizer here on my right. That's in regen mode right now, so I'm only going to do one at a time. Oops. I better put that in service. I want it to regenerate. Duh. So anyways, when this one fills up, then I'll rotate it to service the whole way. And I'm looking for leaks. I don't see any leaks. That's good news. And I think that's about it. So I'm only going to regen one at a time here. Wait till the neutralizer's done. And the filter's been changed. And this one's filling up slowly. Alright, cool. And you can see where I marked there. The resin is about the right amount. And like I said, I went to a website and it had the size, like the diameter of the cylinder and how much you needed. I don't remember the website name. I just Googled it, so you can find it pretty easy. Alright, cool. Man, I'm glad I'm done with this. What a pain in the butt this was. But saved a ton of money, you know, if you think about it. I don't even know if people coming in, if you said that you wanted that service like this, I don't even know if they'd do it. They'd probably just install a new one, you know. Yeah. And as far as labor goes, I mean, it took me all day to do this, so that ain't cheap. It is for me to do it cheap, but to have somebody else do it, you know, that's probably about the same price as buying a whole new system. But for me, the Pure Light costs like $100 off Amazon, the resin. And like I said, I should have got some gravel for the neutralizer. And also I should have got some stone for the bottom of the softener. But I was able to reuse some stuff and kind of, that'll work fine. And my problem with the water flow actually was in the neutralizer. Down at the bottom, it had that stacked filter thing or grate. And that thing was just about clogged up. There was hardly passing any water through it at all. So that hopefully we'll get more water going to the system and everything. Anyway, I hope this helps, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.